Hey everyone, let's be in the center. Yeah. Hi Luyao. So maybe let's start with your intro. Where are you coming from and what you do in daily life?
Yes,
You don't have a mic, sorry.
Want a microphone?
yes. So I'm serving multiple roles. First, I'm like working in academia. So I'm kind of like working at this very interesting joint venture. So it's like Duke University in the U.S. and Wuhan University, China. They founded a U.S.-China Joint Institute in China. This sounds like very interesting, right? Because we heard of a lot of debates between China and the US. So I'm working as both senior research scientist in computational science, also professor in economics on tenure track. So the thing is, what brings me to the blockchain is we find that all the economic mechanisms we design would actually rely on a trusted third party. And this big assumption cannot be overcome by hundreds, thousands, billions of economic theories. And when we end up with impossibility theory. So it seems like blockchain or the kind of DeSci turns to be the next generation solution. Besides the academic life, I also jointly funded the SciEcon CIC. It's kind of like using science to make economic great again in United Kingdom with Yulin, who incubated many projects like Youku Metaverse have the booth there. So for there, we are incubating the integrated talents and interdisciplinary research, like for the pioneers to be in this new space of design and metaversity. So that was my background. So kind of like joining the design movements.
Yeah, it's so interesting. I do have mic.
Oh, sure.
So it's so interesting, and because we have talked so much about DeSci today, right? And suddenly there is so much interest coming all because you know what's happening in European Union right now. There is a lot of interest in deep tech, right? And somehow I do have this belief we can connect the dots because research and development are very important when you want to build something new and release to the world. So and everybody kind of have this understanding what DeSci means, decentralized science, something happening on blockchain, uh, or maybe we can simplify it enough, research plus blockchain is equal to DeSci, right?
Yeah.
But the main question arises here, it's all cool, it sounds fancy, how to do it, right? And that is the biggest question for a lot of people who want to, let's say, break into DeSci, but they don't have this know-how. So what do you think for someone like a researcher or any student or any academic person who wants to get into this, what could be the first step for them to get into it?
Yeah, this sounds like a very great question. I have a little bit different views regarding the DeSci and the traditional science. I think many people would think we need to choose one or another. It's like for example, many people have the misperception, like in China, the whole blockchain and decentralized movement would be banned. But actually, it's not the case. So it's very
Same in India.
Yeah, it's very funny. So for example, so my research at the university is supported by the National Science Foundation in China, which is like highest levels of grants about scientific research in China. But my research with a non-for-profit organization in the UK is funded by Ethereum Foundation and the Definity Foundation. I think if we really want to enter into the DeSci space from the traditional science space, the two space needs to talk to each other. For example, I think most of the Web3 builders ignores the university in the traditional science are their biggest clients. So for example, right now in the university, there are a lot of projects on AI that's burning the money. because the researchers, especially the students, they do not have the way to get their ownership, get their intellectual property recognized during the events and activities. They have much less incentive to create, and the project turns out to be burning the money, but not creating economic values for all the stakeholders in this space and facing sustainability issues. We heard the hype on large language model and generative AI, especially in the past years, but we also are hearing a lot about post AI and the unsustainability of those projects. So there, if we integrated the blockchain incentives to guarantee the people who innovate and create really gets recognized for their intellectual property, then we get the biggest clients in the world from all the university, all the current science community. And vice versa. So in this way, the traditional science community, they also struggles to get grants. Right now, for example, if we want to do behavior experiments, we need to apply for this ethical approval and funding to pay subjects, and waste a lot of time on at the meantime protecting privacy and also getting the subjects incentivized. But if we have the blockchain and DeSci technology, there could be various ways like non-fungible tokens, and tokenized real-world assets in order to complete this traditional science behavior experiment. So in this way, both space will be benefited. One gets clients and one gets the advanced technology. So I think that as synthesizing the two community would be the great mindset to enter this space, other than picking one or another. Because if you ask a professor to leave the university, to not forget about National Science Foundation's grants, and to right now enter into a space to create a DAO, which you must have a lot of expertise to talk about, they would feel very much unsafe because they don't know what it is. But if we started with empowering their current project as a complement, not a substitute, then they would be very much likely to want to enter into this space.
That is the why I kind of chose this topic, open sourcing funding, right? We all know about what open source means. And the funding is critical, right? Funding is critical for startups. It's critical for researchers. It's critical for universities, right? So, what do you think about that? If we open source funding part and what it means actually, how can we open source funding? And how we can make it more inclusive? How we can make it more accessible? What's your take on that?
Yeah, I think that the open source funding idea is very important. I have one perspective, but I also have one question. I think we should discuss and solve it together. So one thing is, for example, I think the open source funding needs to do a backward induction. Like the output needs to be completely open source. In order for the funding itself to be justified to be open source. So for example, from all my research project about blockchain, the output of the data and the research and the code, I in general make all of them open source on GitHub or on Harvard Dataverse for other researchers to follow on. Because otherwise it will be very weird, right? So if we do research on public blockchain, it's open source. But then after we do the research becomes closed source. Then it's difficult. You can justify how any CSci or DeSci public funds should support this kind of research. Maybe it should be supported by private fundraising, but definitely not public ones. So I think it's more about first we need the community to embrace this idea of open source. So they will start to first make the output open source. And then on the other side, I think it's what you mean open source might be in the proposal stage. We need to propose a research, and then we vote on the research. And I think you.
And who should vote? That's also another question. Like, who should be responsible for choosing the proposals?
Yeah, I think that would be the question that's central. This question, I think we need to solve it together because there is always a conflict between some somehow called the majorities like craziness, right? So if we allow everyone to view the scientific research in economic theory, we have this mediocre dilemma that because maybe there would be some frontier scientists like maybe Elon Musk, like Confucius, Aristotle, they were at the frontier, and the majority we are catching up. But if you let the majority to judge the frontier research, then maybe we would never vote for the innovation, the most innovative work to happen, because it started with the minority and it's proved by the history. However, if we do not let the majority to participate, then the other dilemma is we do not know who are the minority who are really at the intelligent frontier, not the ones who are the monopoly who corrupt. So I think that's a dilemma. We need to together think about how to pick the best tool to solve it. One interesting idea, I think, would be the NNS system on the internet computer blockchain. So there, like if you think you are an expert for a proposal, you can directly vote for it. But if you think you are not an expert for the proposal, you can delegate your votes to the Internet Computer Association or other people you think they have expertise to vote for it. I think this is kind of like an idea for us to thinking about how to solving this dilemma. We definitely do not want to vote for anything we are ignorant, and we want to delegate to the expert at the frontier, but we do not delegate it to some unknown minority who might just be corrupting. I don't think right now there is a pretty much consensus and satisfied answer for this, but I think this is a good news because it means this space have some opportunities for us to do innovative activities.
I mean, one thing I always say, who decides, right? And that goes for everything. It goes for VCs, it goes for like any sort of, like people who are in the control to make decisions for grants, right? Because you should have also know how to select these projects. Let's say if we kind of give this power to 1,000 people, right? They love what, let's say, Vita DAO is working on. They love that. And maybe they might have tokens because of that. But should they have also the power to decide on the governance? What do you think about that?
You mean who?
Yeah, like do you want to include whole community in the decision making, or the people should have some sort of know-how or like some sort of experience? Because this is a very technical topic we are talking about here, right? This is just not like should we build some sort of castle or club, right? Then anybody can talk about, yes, we need one. But when it comes to scientific research, it's a very technical topic. Even I might not understand what's written there, right? So who should be in the control, community or some people that community choose?
Yeah. For this, I think I have another path-breaking answer to this. So I think Albert Einstein, he has said, like, we cannot solve the problem by the same levels of consciousness that had created this problem. So I think one important thing is we always ask us to choose between one or another. But I feel like the third solution is we need to create interdisciplinary talents who, no matter what problem gives to the talents know how to outsourcing all the available resources and the methodologies from all the disciplines to solve this problem. Then we would not in the future must choose one group to solve the problem, but include everyone who has these talents. So it's very interesting, like at our university, our students are pioneers. They just hosted this TEDx DKU event, and I was fortunate to be the inaugural speakers among them. And I had this talk on on how to innovate for a better world. I found that right now the biggest problem in the science space is like the scientists are trained in the disciplines, and then they become the tools. They become like robots. They try to find all the problems that can be solved by the tools or expertise they learn. And whenever there is a funding issues, let's say the funding is for sustainability, is for health, is for blockchain, and even if they are not doing research in that area, they try to find how I can satisfy all the requirements on the proposal in order to get the funding. So now scientific research becomes more like a business. Okay, there is a requirements, I tailor to the requirements in order to get the money. And I have the tool, so how can I, with the minimum cost, not learn anything else, just to solve some problem and then get the funding and the publication? I think that's a key pain point. And how to solve that is not saying, okay, today we have the blockchain problem, we have blockchain people to solve it. They will not be able to solve an innovative problem of blockchain with the expertise they have on the previous blockchain. And for example, if we want to solve the problem of the wallet is not user-friendly, it's not like we have the cryptography expert and they can solve it. We need to do behavioral studies to ask the people what are the pain points, if they are elder people, if they have disorders, or they are non-technicians. So I think the final solution is I would want all of us to completely embrace the inclusivity to eventually allow everyone to be able to vote in the governance process for all the scientific research. But the assumption on building this foundation is we can create interdisciplinary talents. In Chinese, we have an old saying, it's very funny. So in Chinese, it's 不要拿着锤子找钉子. So which means you should not have the hammer in hand to find the nail. Yeah, you should really like find the hammer for the nail it needs. So I think that would be the most important one. So I just published a book chapter on synthesizing CeFi and DeFi for the benefit of all. And I think what's really important is to increase financial literacy, the science literacy in the Web3 and Web2 world, so everyone can join this government process.
Yeah, we have also similar thing that we say. Necessity is the mother of invention, right? So there has to be some sort of necessity out there before you start working towards that, right? So that's like really truth. I think we have just 5 minutes left, so I'm gonna just really quickly ask you two questions. What is the biggest legal challenge? Because that's our work right now. We are working towards creating this legal framework for DAOs in European Union, right? To make it simpler for DAOs to innovate. So my question here to you, what legal challenges you see in DeSci space right now?
Yeah, I think for Europe, maybe we need to ask you for more.
No, I want to understand from you first, like because you are the adopter, you are applying for grants, so you might tell me as an advocate for DeSci, like what challenges are you coming across?
Yeah, because of my background, I would love to offer two for discussion. One is from the European Union side, and one is from the Chinese government side. I think you are all very interested. So one from the European Union side, I think it's more about this privacy thing, because the privacy law is there must be like this kind of like forgotten principle of people's data, like people who own your own data, like your picture when you are just a kids, right? So you post on Facebook, but later on you become a superstar, and somehow that picture will ignore and annoying you, causing some problem. You shall be able to delete it. But this becomes a problem when blockchain becomes a tamper-proof. So we really need to think about this case, because people might later kind of like regret doing something on the blockchain, and somehow the data cannot be deleted. And the challenging in China right now partially has been solved, because in Hong Kong, in a special district, in the crypto assets becomes legal. But in the mainland assets, you cannot incentivize people by issuing the tokens on the exchange like ICO. You cannot do that. So then it becomes super difficult for you to really create kind of like business models for your Web3 project. So in this case, you need to create super strong models, like in the old economy where you exchange goods or exchange like NFT Pope for certificates of education. So you gain from that reputation and ownership outside of the economic system you build on the China blockchain. But then it still becomes a challenge because a lot of like token economy benefits you can leverage in the Western countries right now. In mainland China, it's still not possible.
One last question. So you come from academia, and in there, I usually say a lot of researchers are not entrepreneurs, right? Most of the time, they have great breakthroughs, right? They just don't know how to monetize it. And if you would look what's happening in AI space right now, this LLM model, it all started with one research paper, right? So what do you think, can DeSci help these people to become better entrepreneurs or to monetize on their research? What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think this is a super great question, and that's partially of the reason I very much like our current university. So before I joined a current university, I decided to quit academia, and I was doing this like entrepreneurship program at Oxford SciEcon Business School with many of the Web3 founders. And then for our university, it's kind of like allow you, like me, to design the courses. And in the courses, our undergraduate students are able to become the entrepreneurs in both academia and industry. Like they do pioneering research, writing papers for top publications. They also can do entrepreneurship projects to commercialize it. And they could also fund a non-for-profit organization initiatives to host a banana conference like this. So I think it's more about we need to start from cultivating talents who can do research, who can do entrepreneurship, and who can do public service. Everything at the meantime, it's again about talents, not about somehow you had trained the talents only in the way who can be a professor writing paper, and another way who can only be entrepreneur, and now you try to think about how to bridging them and cooperating. I think a much more efficient way is we started from the freshman or even high school students. But this is difficult because we need to, I think the crucial part is we need to really design the joint program between the academia and the industry. For example, if we only have the Web3 company to host a hackathon, the problem is students are already busy with the credit courses. They are not very much attending the hackathon. They only aiming for the money and then don't build on top of it. But like I design the case into the credit courses in computer science and economics, so students in the courses that's credit for them to get the US and China degree would be able to build the hackathon projects. The Web3 companies are also looking for to get the commercial value or for public growth. Yes.
Wonderful, and thank you, Luyao. And now we can say that science is becoming sexy, right? And something that we have been waiting for so long. It's boring, everybody knows, but now there is a reason for everyone to be included or involved. So thank you so much for talking about that, and our time is up. And I would love to catch up with you later as well on this topic. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.